Facebook, give me, or YouTube stream giving me hell again. It just says unable or finished streaming. It's doing something really silly. But I know I'm live. I know you guys see me. I know we're good. I should be able to read your comments. There we go. Yeah, buddy. All right, good to go. So I do a quick refresh. Morning, everyone, to today's morning version of Sip and Click Thirsty Thursdays. Hope you guys got your mug of coffee and you're ready to enjoy this pre-market action. Man, I'm pretty pumped up. Well, my equity curve's pumped up. I'm mostly out of the positions now. But you've been talking about Cannabis. We started talking about Cannabis in November, got in October. And holy moly, right? Like, did we not nail this one? 800, 900% up on TLRY since we started talking about it. MJ, the ETF's doing, something similar, not quite as pumpy as TLRY, but it's getting up closer to that all-time high zone. We'll go over some of these charts in detail. I just gonna want to highlight the move, the market cycle, and identifying key opportunities when they're down here, right? We don't want to be the guys buying these up candles, because that's going to burn our fingers. We want to be the guys just like what we did on MJ getting down here, in TLRY and CGC, several other things. Yeah, I'm also going to talk about Bitcoin, Ether. BTC is pretty frustrating to me right now. There's other opportunities like TLRY 900%. Well, BTC was kind of stagnant, made like a 6% jump on an Elon tweet, right? So I saw we diversify. So we have different trading accounts because there's opportunities elsewhere. We don't want to look at the same damn chart all day when it's not doing much. Yo, what's up, Marshall? What's up, Aaron? Good on the tube. You guys on Facebook, everybody smash that like button wherever you are. We're going to talk about silver. I think silver is a good opportunity to add today. I'm going to add to my silver bags, a little underwater, but I've had them for a while, so I've sold some. I sold some on the WSB pump, and now I think it's time to get back in. I can talk about a lot of things, so yeah, let's dive right in. And then, so we have a 1013, right? 1013. That's my signal on TLRY. We got January 15, 7.5 calls at 67. Now, January 15th, that chart, it closed at $20. I exercised my TLRY, so my average cost per share on TLRY is $7.50. I still have $13 calls that are in the money. We are trading at $63.91. That's pretty fucking awesome. You just can't beat that number, right? And I'm 90% out of that position, right? 90%. I just have 100 shares, let it ride. All right, so what's next? What's next for this giant? I'm going to start with this one. And, originally, you were kind of talking about a move like, gun 7.5 because that was the 61.8. And I wasn't expecting this parabolic move. But the market is kind of pricing in things all wacky right now. And you got a lot of FOMO. And it hit CNBC yesterday, and they blamed it on Wall Street, but I mean, they didn't start talking about it till it hit the 40s, right? So sold my last in the money contract, and now I'm just sitting on the 100 shares. I think I'm just gonna let it ride for a while. But in terms of, is it too late to get in? I would wait a retrace on this market. I think it's done 900%. Like it's pretty intense for stocks. And it's at that, if we're running fibs, just to stay technical, this is a decent extension level to prove resistance. Maybe we pull back to 41.35, these lower retracements right here before going up any higher. Running an all-time high retracement, I think this chart just dumped so much from all-time high that, targeting 186 is I don't know. I don't think we can go up from 11 to 186 in one go. You might need to see some consolidation. But it's not before. It's went from 22 to 300, right? I might be wrong, but that's the beauty of getting in early and just hanging on a small position and then waiting for retraces. All right, CGC. So CGC owns the most land that's farmed for cannabis. Like they have the most cannabis farms. I was like watching a documentary about cannabis business structure in the U.S. and like Canopy has probably the most farms. Tilray's flying because they have like international contracts. Nobody else has that many contracts. Now this one's a giant, right? And it didn't really like get hit hard. It never went post IPO listing, right? We got into Tilray post IPO, lower than IPO pricing. This one just had a really good retrace. And I do think we can knock out those 70, 79, 72 to 89 range targets, right? And if we definitely like our calls, I think they expire mid-April. So I'm gonna let them run. If we're at 139, I'd probably exercise one because we're getting like a 3x discount because they're for 37, and then take profit on the other and just let it run, right? MJ, it's an ETF. It's like a basket of goods. It's a basket of cannabis calls. The reason I picked those three is just because it made the most sense, right? A high flyer, a solid company that owns a lot of the real estate and infrastructure, and then the ETF. So MJ is above the all-time high 61.8, which is pretty fantastic, right? This is great. And I think this is gonna break all-time high. So whatever we're sitting on left in terms of calls, I'm just gonna hang on and let it do its thing, right? Just gonna let it run. But I mean, is it too late to buy in, man? Like we're not buying here. We sold on the way up. Like in my opinion, I think it is. We want to wait and see like a bull flag, right? Like something like down here, and then that would be like an excellent trigger. Speaking of similar moves, looking at like silver, I made a video about silver a weekend ago. Whenever the Wall Street bets started pumping it, right, or they thought they could squeeze. We had a fib retest, man, and these things are normal. Like this is normal price action, right? This is where you want to get in because things might pump, but when they pull back to these significant levels, that's the clean entries. It's always dumping hard this morning. All right, good. Yeah, man, CGC flying, huge, making nice returns too. Let's look at huge, man. Yeah, I think you pinged me about huge yesterday, and I said like you wanna watch out for 4.78. So that's a 61.8. And the problem with like getting in on some like these late bloomers, it wasn't even intraday action, man. It did all this in pre-market. That's crazy. And I went on a daily close to get these fibs. I went from this swing high to this swing low to get 4.7. Now until huge closes above 4.7, I don't see it flying, right? And I don't know, like Tilray's they're a Canadian company, and they got a contract in the UK and they operate in the US. It's like the multinational corporation. They also had another acquisition of another cannabis stock. Like it's crazy. Like it's a damn good investment. It's not just like riding the marijuana hype train, right? It's not. So that's really important too, making sure you're not just getting in. Thanks, Steven. Dude, yeah, fib game strong. I was talking to a person that's like, "Oh, I'm learning trading," and I'm like, "What's your edge?" And she's like, "What does that mean?" I'm like, "How are you gonna take money from other people in the market? That's what that means." And she didn't have an answer. I'm like, "Well, you failed your first quiz, so that's my edge. That's our edge." Okay, all right, moving on. BTC, man, I'm hating it. Not hating on it, just hating it. Okay. Why am I hating it? Because we got like top longers thinking they're geniuses because they're buying up candles, and I really hate that, right? Like seeing rocket memes from people that bought like 40K and then they went 30% underwater and now it's up 46 and they're like, "Oh, I'm a good trader." Come on. Okay, so back when I was saying about like waiting for retraces, like MJ CGC TLRY, right? You see what happened on Bitcoin? I'm not making this shit up, man. You see where I got bought up? So that's the kind of move we want to target, right? Now that we're closing above 45,670, right? We might see a pump to 64. I don't know where people are getting a 50K target from, but we're running like structural fibs, and this extension is off the descending broadening wedge of the last 2 years of consolidation. I think this is the fibs that the market's following, especially with this rejection and this rejection, right? So this extension is basically validated by how the market has acted on these extension levels. That's what makes like your fibs valid or not. Like, are you seeing price action change here and there, right? And like this little move right here, you guys can see that. Man, yeah, no. Dave, thank you, man. Thank you for being with us, dude. Thanks for seeing the value in what we do in the streams and in VIP. And you guys in VIP, man, I'm so freaking proud of you. All right, another obstacle for BTC. It looks like it's already cleared it, which would be 46. So I do think 63K is the next target. You can see how unhappy I am saying that. Anyway, because I like to see people that buy tops. I like to see them get crushed, right? And that's just how markets are supposed to work. If you buy high, you're supposed to get shot down low, right? And then if you buy low, you're supposed to get rewarded. All right, let's look at LTC. I was looking, so the reason I got into LTC, and I personally hate Litecoin, is because you guys know I've been a Ether maximalist since September of like 2018, really or late 2018, and then 2019, 2020. I was much of an Ether guy. I thought Ether had bottomed, and seeing this, right, and you can also like fib an extension here. It just made a lot of sense to get in a Litecoin right then and there, and it's lagging. And with the Ether future listing, I'm skeptical of like CME futures, because looking at like other listed futures, it's really never that pretty, especially in the beginning, because those guys, it's in their best interest to short the asset down low so they can leverage it and long it up high. They're professionals. They're not going to want to buy high to sell higher. They're going to want to short high, load up low, and then send it, right? And that's what we saw on Bitcoin CME futures. We can go over futures charts too. It's going to be an interesting stream. It's going to be all over the place a little bit. So that's kind of why I got in here. Looking at the LTC USD, my first target on Litecoin, it's the 61.8. The USD chart, man, you know, I saw this. I was actually just sitting on my phone, and one of my buddies from Dallas, he's like a doctor, and he's like, dude, like, what should I buy, man? I'm tired of chasing. I'm like, dude, like, looking at this chart, man, that's a big Adam and Eve. This looks ready to rumble. It's retested, and I think we're going to 268, right? I think 268, and if it really gets going, maybe 529. But I mean, I think Litecoin should be at 0, but I have Litecoin bags because the chart is telling me it's not going to be at 0, right? So I'm treating it as my own bias, and I don't like doing that. Okay, you guys on Facebook, you're being super quiet, so drop me a comment or smash that like button or do something. I'm not going to stream for you ever again. All right, audit JPM CGC looking weak. Oh, he said looking weak. Let's do CGC. Man, I don't know how this is weak. Like, it's above the 61.8. I think we're gonna see a broad retrace on Cannabis, especially now that it's hit like mainstream. It's hype, right? What happened to GME when it got hyped? When shit gets hyped, that's when it's time to like start scaling out, you know? So 39. I mean, if we go back down to 39 on CGC, I'm probably still a happy camper. Now it looks like pre-market price is at 48. You can see that orange line. I can zoom into like a smaller time frame. So we want to see 48 get snatched up, right? If this gets bought back up, you get continuation. If not, 39, 40 bucks. That's a good level. Wait, so back to like ETH, right? So, you know, we look at ETH1. which is Ether futures on the CME. Look at the daily. I mean, there's not much of a chart, but let me show you something. Let's look at silver futures. That's a COMEX. We're gonna look at the weekly, and we're gonna go out to when they first got listed. Okay, this is how it started. Let me help you guys out. That's how it started, man. And then that's how it ended, and that's when the chart took off. Okay, let's look at BTC futures. I'm not saying Ether's gonna do the same thing, but a lot of times when these futures get listed, they do this pattern. Okay, keep this pattern in mind. Let's look. That's BTC. Let's look at gold futures. You want to go to the beginning of time, any futures commodity that got listed. And what do you see? Same thing. So I don't know why we're expecting Ether to do something completely different when everybody's buying high and freaking out and making money buying high. I just don't think that's how markets should work, man. It shouldn't be that easy. It shouldn't be that easy. So I think something like this should happen. Crypto, maybe Ether leads it. And there's also a bigger dilemma that I can talk about at the end with Tesla buying 1.5 billion of BTC and the risk that poses on the S&P and QQQ. Like the implications of that are going to be crazy. GNLN. We got into Green Lane. That was a good stock pick, guys. That was a really good stock pick. We got in and like the thing down here. A buddy of mine that owns a bunch of dispensaries was like, dude, they supply everything we buy. He's like, the bags, everything we buy, we get from these guys. And they do that to every dispensary, and they can't keep up with orders. So let's fib it. Let's go to the daily, zoom out. I mean, at this point, right, like these bags, just like, because there was no options on Green Lane. I think we can target 1197, right? And these guys just, they're suppliers of everything that dispensaries buy. And if somebody's like, is it too late? Yeah, it's too late, man. Like, wait for 634 before I'm buying. You know, wait for them retraces like I just showed on BTC and silver and other charts. All right, what do you guys want to talk about? So we got a Twitter bag, right? We've got a big Twitter bag. I've sold out a lot of my Twitter, but it's doing good, man. I think we're still on like Donkey Kong, and we want to get past 67. We want to get past 73, and then our $60 in the money calls. Just let that shit run, right? Unless we get some kind of liquidity event and we have to sell out. I'd probably want to sell out my further outs that are like my $80 Junes and my $60 Aprils, right? Just because $80 June is so far away. But if we get moving again, I don't think we are. And, you know, the reason I got into this trade, one, you know, Twitter has become the broadcast platform, right? Like if the president has to say something, he doesn't go on the news, he just tweets it. If your governor, if anybody has something to say, they just tweet it. Look at Facebook. Right, you go back to the beginning of time, not like before Jesus, but like when Facebook got listed. It took Facebook. Let's just look at time and date, date range. It took Facebook 100 bars to complete this. And these are 3-day charts, so like 300 days to do this formation and then blow up. And if you look at Twitter, I think it's the same formation, right? I really think it's very similar. You want to like isolate it. It's kind of like a cup and handle, but not really. But it did something like this, right? And now you can probably see it. But it took Twitter so much longer. So like whoever was accumulating this, let's consider maybe 2,000 days, man. 560 hours, so 5x, right? It took 5 times the time to play out this let's call it accumulation pattern, right? Before we had the immaculate run. And I think, if Twitter is doing this, if we're here on Twitter, this bag is going to be fantastic. All right. So I haven't had any, there you go. Some chart suggestions. Vincent, thank you, man. I love your energy. For real. I've known you for years, man. Thank you. You're awesome. Okay, Hexo, been writing since 521, it's $5 almost in the M. Let's just look at Hexo. It's coming in from Steven on the tube. I'm just kind of do some adjustments here. Is this a cannabis stock? Like, I don't know what all these stocks are, right? Obviously. Is this cannabis, Steven? You gotta tell me a little bit more about this. I think you're in for a continuation. I personally would have bought 818s just because that's the 61.8. Probably even, I would have, like 715 and let it run. Just trying to find what really matches up. I think the all-time high is going to be a crush. Actually, it's not, man. This looks good for 21. If you're gonna get continuation out of this, it's going to be 21. It might come back and do a double bottom. I don't know what's moving this asset. I don't know what it is. So, but like all time 61.8 would be 21. So we could get a pump to there. I don't know the volume, the liquidity. I don't know much about it. First time looking at this chart, I believe. It's pretty hard to fib these until it's not. Until like we figure it out. So let's try to figure it out. This kind of looks valid. I just don't like that there's no rejection here. We want to find where like the previous 61.8 was. That makes the most sense. And it's probably here, right? Because we had rejection, then we had a close, and we had an impulse up. You see like 510 is the 38.2, 23.8. This looks like a decent fib setup. So we're likely to see 13s, man. We're likely, if you get rejection off 13, take some profit. If you're in profit, just scale out a little bit. It's like we treated TLRY. I'm not sour that I sold 80% of my cannabis. I'm not. I'm freaking happy, man, because you don't make money until you sell. You don't want to be the guy that bought GME at 30, went all the way to 300, you didn't sell, and now it's back at 30. You don't want to be that person, right? I don't want to be that person. You can be that person. So, Dylan, I'm guessing go, like you're talking about the crypto, go be, or grocery outlets holding. I don't think you're talking about that because you're asking about, Go Chain. Dude, I'm about to, let me just mute my Telegram alerts. I really hate it when that shit happens and I'm streaming. There you go. Alright, man, go BTC. If BTC makes that dash to 60 whatever target I highlighted, I don't know if alts are going to keep rallying against it, right? I don't. Let's look at Go USD. That's just the honest truth. They might like take a breather until it's done. I don't know, man. I don't really like trade these bags anymore. It looks good though, right? Like, looks good. You want 197 to hold, and then you should be good for like 0.03, right? Just highlighting this. You want to see this leg play out, and I think this could be like potentially bull trappy, right? Or maybe 4-3 and then back down. I haven't kept an eye on these micro caps. I talked about RVN. I don't think I signaled go in a long time. I talked about Raven. And I talked about Raven when it was here. Actually, let's be real. I signaled Raven BTC, Raven USD, and I was on log. Come on. I signaled Raven like in the 0.18, 0.14 range, and it went to 0.49. Just to be honest, right? It made like 200% on USD, and then in BTC it also did like pretty similar gains. We got in before the initial break. We got in on this consolidation, so we got in at like the 48-cent range, and now it's at 106, right? So like, how's Mara looking in your opinion? Let's look at Marathon. Let's look at 3-day, and let's zoom out. And what I would say, like, this is a really good chart. Like, you look at this price action, it's fantastic. And it could keep going, but like, I think it's too late, man. When something pumps that hard, like, I'd want to wait for a retrace or consolidation, because that's how you got burnt fingers, right? And a burnt equity curve. Equity curve can be great until you start buying tops and they start going south. 60 is going. Yeah, man. We're getting a lot of recoveries post COVID, and like, I tried shorting like Neo, the Chinese EV stock, and it just kept going up, man. So I'm in take profit mode. You know, I like trading options because they actually expire, and I have a certain amount of time to take profit or exercise and make like these crucial decisions instead of like buying a stock and praying. Plus, the return on investment is so beautiful. So I might like finish out this pennant, because usually you don't want to short before the fifth wave. So wave 1, and this just looks like a diagonal, right? And usually when you get a diagonal, it's either leading or ending. This could be a leading diagonal. Either way, there's a correction after both. So like, this would be your 1, right? 2, 3 is the longest, right? 4, and you don't want to short before the 5th. And I don't know how like crazy this is gonna go, but it could end at 56 or it could end at 42, and that would be like a good place to start scaling, unless you're just like one of those, oh, I'm gonna hold this for 100 years and retire rich. You know, I don't trade like that. Okay. So yeah, you know, that's my thing. We could even go to like 69. Let's talk S&P, guys. Let's talk S&P. I think the SPA is important, man. Look at these fibs. You know, we added some VIX at the high yesterday. We have some pretty open gaps. I do think, you know, I think this buy is probably headed for like 394 still. Still going up. Just tricky. It's tricky because it's so extended. You look at the weekly. You know, matching these to the exact is tough, and we know like we want to short like the 61.8 failure, or like a 1.2 up, and not just try to short random tops, right? So I think we can hit 394, and if we close above, possibly 414. And here's the thing, man. A lot of earnings are coming in Q4, and they're coming in good. They're coming in hot. They're coming in good. Like, Twitter earnings came in good. AMD had the best earnings ever. Apple had the best earnings ever. And the market is doing like this weird push pull where you get great earnings, the stock sells off. You get great earnings, the stock pumps. So a really weird way of evaluating earnings these days. But the fact that earnings are coming in good for Q4 might push this even higher unless it's already priced in. But I do think like the QQQ is still in blow off mode. Forgive me, Lord, if I'm missing an extension, because I was missing an extension to September high. One of these charts has to be annotated. Man, okay, gotta start over. Okay, so so I think 381 is like should be the next, or they get up in the 380s, right? So this is like the all-time extension, and then I believe this was the September top extension. Oh, isn't it? We found it after the fact, and I was like, man, okay, so we're never gonna miss one of these ever again. Like somewhere along the lines of, maybe it was this one. So let's just ignore that. Sorry guys, I'm like, can't figure out what I figured out months ago on stream. Maybe there it is. There it is. Bam. Okay, this is it. This is it. The 301, right? The first time we got up there, we got dumped on so hard, man. People thought we were going back into COVID crash round 2, and I'm like, no, we're not. It's just, it's not. It's just look for a place to long. It kind of like ping ponged between these two, and then closed at 281 and just got sent. Now we're above 327. I do think there's a 350 extension somewhere. That's why I have 355 calls. But I think if we get good earnings and if like Apple can recover here, we can get sent to like 381, possibly. And with Bitcoin being risk on and the stock market being risk on, I've already proved that the risk on correlation is there. It's on Medium. If you Medium Coin Observatory in Google, it's like one of the featured stories, right? I believe it's called risk on, right? The correlation between BTC and SPY. So it shows you correlation between markets, both crypto and stocks. And when we're in risk on, everything goes up, right? Supreme Cannabis, what's the ticker? Maybe you got time. I'm liking you guys. We got an active crowd on the tube this morning. Thank you guys so much. So man, so VIX, I bought VIX because it's like a volatility hedge. We get dumps, VIX is gonna pump, right? VIX ain't gonna make you rich. The only time VIX gonna make you rich is COVID crash, right? Because we had, or even like September. Which one was September? October. This was September, right? But like COVID crash, VIX went from $13 to 78, right? But the reason I buy VIX now, like every couple of weeks, you see me say, hey, I'm adding to my VIX 4 weeks out. I'm adding my VIX 8 weeks out. Because when we get these sell-offs like yesterday, sometimes they end well and sometimes they don't, right? And the fact that we still have this open gap, right? We have this big open gap on the SPY. When it comes down to filling that gap, if you're sitting in VIX, you're gonna make a lot of money on that VIX. And if you have S&P calls and they go to shit, well, your VIX is gonna fly, and it's gonna counter that on your equity curve. It's like your safety net, right? And if your VIX goes up and you don't sell partial, you don't sell all, and it goes to 0, but S&P goes up, call that your burn rate. But you can't trade these markets without that, because then you end up like a Wall Street bettor. Your equity curve goes up, and then it goes right the fuck back down, right? You want to have your hedges in, and that's what the VIX does. But that being said, and you can't just TA the VIX on its own. Back when we had September, right? September pump. The chart left a really big gap here, and the VIX started moving with the pump. The VIX went up, and the S&P went up, and that was like the weirdest thing I've ever witnessed. Because usually it's an inverse correlation. But let's go to like the 60. See this gap right here? Like just a few weeks ago, last week we had a big VIX bump, and I sold a bunch of my 18s, and the 20s. Didn't sell all of them just in case. So this right here, September pump, the S&P, right? It gapped up, and on that gap run, it made 6%, and VIX made 38. Right, and we had calls, and we sold them early because the spot was pumping. And we were like, oh, it's going to come back down. It's the VIX. And it kept going up, and it kept going up, and it kept going up. So there's really no telling how the market's going to react with an open gap and a blow-off, right? There's no telling. Because it's start price again volatility, and VIX is betting on volatility. So, okay, looking at YFI. This is a request. Jeez, man. That's a 50-50. That's a 50-50. It's actually pretty interesting, dude. If you can, like, if you got an appetite for risk, right? Like, this looks like it's ready to go. It's a triangle, but why is it stopping here, right? That's the concerning part. If this is a 61.8, this could be bearish. Yeah, man. So I wouldn't say like a breakout is on until it closes above 0.9, and then we might go to like 1.2. Because then the next target is either 1.2, or forgive me, Lord, if it's a 1.2 again, oh, it's 1.2 again. All right. So like 1.25 to 1.29 would be the first target, and then if this is really gonna like go super bullish retrace, or not even super, just if it's gonna go like a all-time high retrace, something like we're seeing on other charts, it would go to 2.75, right? But I mean, that would require YFI to really get going. Bam. Oh, Jam. I buy options, man. I buy options. I don't buy shares. I don't have time. I mean, the only shares I buy is when options aren't available, and I buy options, and like usually I'll target a few spots out of the money because they're gonna be cheaper, and when they run in the money, they're gonna be really expensive, and that's how we make most of our money is buying OTM calls and selling them on the way up, right? So buying VIX calls, I believe I have $20 calls and $18.50 calls, and just different expiries. That's how I trade the VIX. And there's also no telling how far it's gonna pump. Like if your VIX goes 10 spots in the money and you've got 2 weeks till expiry, dude, you are freaking rich, man. You know. All right, guys, we got some more minutes, man. We got like 11 minutes till market open. What do we got? Show me some tokens. Smash that like button. Yes, keep smashing that like. Help us out. YouTube doesn't really show me any love, man. The algorithm, you know, like they just don't show us any love. The SPY, are we gonna get above the 61.8? Are we gonna see a repeat of a few weeks ago? Are we gonna fill that gap today? I have SPY puts, and I have SPY calls, and I have VIX. We're above the 61.8, which is nice. We want to stay above 390. We really want to do that. But with the positive earnings, like, I don't know if we're going to get a big dip. Oh, man, TLRY's selling off. That's right. Fuck you, top longers. I just like to see top longers get burnt, man. It shouldn't be that easy. Sorry. So we want to see something, we want to see change above 391. Let's look at QQQ. I think that's above the 786. Once again, like if this starts retracing, you want to, why do we sell on the way up? You want to sell on the way out to your target so you have available cash, right? Because if it goes up and then the next day your chart gaps down and you're like all in your options and you have no available cash, How do you average down? How do you play the hedge? You don't want to sell low. You want to sell on the way up. And then on the down days, we either add to our head or add to our longs or find the bounce to short, right? To find the dead cat. VGAC, oh, look at that. Now, if we do get a pullback on the QQQ, where's it going to go to? Right? Doesn't 328 seem like super likely because that's our fib extension, right? That would be a good retest. What happened here? It bounced off this fib twice before making another move. And I had a couple of bounces. Resistance, support, SR flip, right? Now, if we come back down here, maybe a little lower, you know, that's when I'll buy more calls further out. Trade that continuation. And if we start necking over here, then I'll probably play some puts too. And I have available cash because I've been selling my marijuana on the way up. My marijuana stocks, not a weed dealer, guys. Okay. All right. What else we got? VGAC, VJack. This just gap filled, man. This looks good. This is a good retrace. And I know I'm not saying it looks good to like bullish continuation. This looks like November 2020. This has been trading for a few months, like IPO. I don't like IPOs until they dump. This could continue up though. Let's see. So above 14.35, we can maybe see 61.8 retrace to what does VJack acquire, man? What do they have? Tell me a little bit about their portfolio. I might be interested in this. Right, so like 16.5 is a great target if we get this bounce up here and then bam, right? Like you want to see it shoot up. That'd be a great target. If not, then like we want to see support of 13.4, maybe 12. But I don't think it should go to 11. I don't know what's moving this, but the bullish outcome would be going up to 6. Well, that wouldn't even be bullish. That would be like a 61.8 bear retrace before continuation. But that would be the first up target, right? That would literally be my first up target if this was to bounce. If this was not to bounce, I would look at these levels to see where to counter trade it. Right? Like, we don't want to be the guy that buys here on an up candle and like gets shaken out here. We want to be the freaking sniper waiting for this close up here, like this maybe tiny up candle before taking it up for continuation, or for a bounce over here, or like yeah. Man, you know, just hop in Discord. I've fib charts all day, 5-7 days a week, really. All right, fam bam. We got more time. What do you guys want me to look at? All right, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys for tuning in. Share the chart. Share the stream. Smash that like button. Hop in Discord. If you are new to Discord, you want a guest pass, DM me on Discord. Say, hey man, give me a guest pass. I'll do it for like a couple of days just so you see how we're looking at these charts. Before I wrap it up, man, some of you guys in VIP, I just want to say good job. You guys, like, let me pop this up here to the moon. Guys, I love seeing your equity curves come in, right? Like, look at this guy, Fire Marshall. This was September. Freaking didn't take profit on the way up, right? If we'd be taking profit on the way up, we would have continued up here. Like, I kind of had a similar equity curve issue. Recovering Wall Street better. Good job, man. You know, and then, you know, Task Kill, dude. Crushing it, bro. Crushing it, man. Look at that equity curve. And T-Mac, dude, 956% a year. You wanna be my portfolio manager, bro? And then we're still holding some of these canvas calls, right? Like turning, what was that, $190 in a 8,500. Like that's the stuff we're looking for. And over here, man. Good job, guys. Good job. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in Discord. That's where you find me. And if you're new,